Again, welcome to everybody to this webinar on product management in software and IT. The webinar is structured into 5 parts. I will very briefly introduce to the topic. As I already said in my introduction, the key theme in product management is to connect the engineering or IT side with the business part of the enterprise, and this is what we are going to look into. I will then look into performance and market success factors, which also gives some kind of external benchmark on how product management is used. We have then a chapter which gives 10 success factors for product manager, and I will I have selected these 10 factors from experiences in a variety of IT and software companies with which we had been working and where we had been introducing the product management role. And this also leads the way to the competence management part of product management, which is the 4th part, where I want to also refer to ongoing activities on certification in software product management, and also highlight how software product management is introduced in a situation where people also have to grow their own competences. Finally, we are summarizing and giving some conclusions, also some literature. I will start with a brief quiz which has 10 questions where you just look into very fast and just give an honest answer to yourself on each of the 10 questions in a kind of yes, no, or don't know scheme. The first would be, can you list your key markets? What value do you deliver to each of your key markets? Does your product strategy clearly underline which markets you address and why? Is the strategy significantly different from your competitors? Can you describe how your organization creates superior value? Is your company perceived as superior in your key target markets? Are the relevant functions in your company organized to best deliver the value required by functions? So this is now getting into the interfaces of product management and the different functions. Is your product and marketing strategy able to cope with risks from suppliers, customers, competitors, and your own projects? Do you periodically monitor assumptions, risks, and business case? And finally, do your people understand and support the above points? In other words, would your colleagues, would your management, would other functions give similar answers like what you do in 1 to 9? And if you put this all together, give for each yes 1 mark. If you don't know, you put 0. If you put a clear no, we don't do that, or no, our product is not that mature, you put a -1. And if you then sum this up, you will find in a maximum, obviously you have 10. A minimum can go down to -10, which I have in fact never seen. But what I want to emphasize is often we are somewhere in the middle. We have a set of yes, we have a set of don't know, maybe a few no's. And this is exactly why we have created this webinar, in order to emphasize key themes. And when I will come to these 10 success factors, not all of them might be equally relevant for you, but clearly they should give you a trigger, a stimulus to question your own habits and behaviors, and then maybe look to 1 or 2 of those and move forward. And this is actually also the target which I have with this webinar, that you get a couple of good practices from industry in product management, and think about which of those would give you a specific value, would give you a specific improvement in your domain. Let's start very briefly with a few definitions, just that we know what we talk here about. When I talk about a product, the very brief and common definition, it's a deliverable which creates a value and an experience. We should see the 2 aspects. The value means there's something where you say, well, this is really worth that I put energy in it, in creating and distributing it, or from a customer perspective, this is something where I'm going to put some bucks on the table. Either or is a clear mandatory requisite that we can really talk about a product. And an experience, this is now the valuation from a user perspective. Is there an experience which is tangible, which I can put into words? And if these factors are given, this is what we call the product. A product offers typically a bundle of benefits, which is we typically don't sell the explicit product, but we try to address specific needs in the market, in a specific client, so that they would see, well, this is really maximizing my own benefits. And more from an internal perspective, it's not necessarily something tangible. We all know in IT and software, a lot of value comes actually from service, comes from solution perspective, for instance, where we offer a set of IT services maybe which are in the cloud or which is part of software, but we also help the client to best integrate that into his own business process. So that could be integration support, that could be maintenance contracts, that could be consulting and training, etc., etc. But this is what we call the product. And again, the key message here is we don't talk here about the product from the inside. We talk here about the product as an experience, as a user experience. And this is really what makes a successful product. A good example for winning products are the different recent Apple products, such as the iPod initially, the iPhone, more recently the iPad. All of those products actually came into market, specifically the iPod or the iPhone, which had been saturated for quite a while. I mean, if you go back in history a while and think about the iPod, there was not really much need for such a device because there had been a lot of MP3 players around, and they are cheap, they are available for many years, so why should somebody embark in such a market? Now, the brilliant idea of Apple at that time, and the same with the iPhone a while later, was that they were addressing a new segment, which so far was not so much in this product. They offered value chain in terms of protected content, for instance, or the apps in the case of the iPhone. In other words, it was a product with a business model which addressed or created user needs in areas where nobody would really have expected that this need is available. And the funny part, or if you want, the real business thinking behind is they always go into segments where people like to spend a lot of money. And that's also interesting because at the time when the iPod came out, you could get them for $20 somewhere in the market and supermarkets. However, when Apple's iPod came out, it was immediately much more expensive, and this made it more attractive for the people in this new segment who were more into fashion, who were more into impression they wanted to create, and who wanted to put money on the table. And this is what we call a business model. The technology is reliable but not extremely innovative. Now, in the case of the iPad, in the case of the iPhone, this is not fully true because there's a couple of highly innovative technologies inside. But generally speaking, and this is what the technology analysts always say, is the technology inside is primarily reliable. It's not always the very latest which you can get. And that's again important because the positioning here is to make sure that the thing works, to make sure that it has an excellent quality and user experience, but not necessarily so innovative that maybe it doesn't work after